So there are only a few days left before 2015 starts. So I guess we should start showing off our favorite books of 2014. Now I have a few books to show you here. I don't think there's 14 books. I'm pretty sure there's not. I didn't count 14. I just picked my favorite ones. No particular order. And I'm just gonna show you which books were my favorite, why I love them so much. Before I even start this, okay people, I am new to the book community. I was not an avid reader before this year. Before March, I never read books. I read a book every once in a while, but I never actually avidly started reading until 2014. So a lot of books that you're gonna see here, you're gonna be like, what? That book came out ages ago. Why are you just now saying it's your favorite book? Because I only read it this year. So that is where you're gonna see older books in my video. It's not because I had never wanted to read them, it's because I wasn't a reader, so I hadn't heard about these books. So I am now telling you that I figured out that these books exist and I love them like everybody else in the world. So I'm just gonna show you guys. The first book that I have here is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Yes, I have read this book in March and I cried. I was actually kind of spoiled about what happens. So that wasn't fun, but it was still sad, obviously, and I really, really enjoyed this book. And I absolutely loved it. I love Augustus Waters and Hazel Grace and everything about it. And I actually read John Green's Paper Towns and Looking for Alaska, and I did not like those books. This one is by far my favorite. I'm thinking about maybe reading Let It Snow, where he co-wrote it with two other authors. I'm not sure. I know I won't be reading an Abundance of Catherine's. It doesn't interest me whatsoever. So yeah, this one is some good stuff. The next book I have here is The City of Heavenly Fire. Obviously this is by Cassandra Clare. Who doesn't know that by now? And yes, I have read all of Cassandra Clare's book this year. I started reading them probably in May. Yeah, right before this book came out, I started reading them and I read them all and they were all good. But I especially liked City of Heavenly Fire, and it is huge. Yes, it is huge, 725 pages, and it was my favorite. I can't really explain why it was my favorite. I just know that I enjoyed it the most, probably because I knew the characters really well by then, and it was just a blast to read and seeing how everything finished, and it was a perfect ending. First of all, I adore Cassandra Clare's endings to trilogies. That's not a word. But it is worth reading the entire series just to get to the last books of hers, because City of Heavenly Fire and Clockwork Princess were fabulous. Fabulous. Next I have Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now this is part of the Lux series, and obviously this is the first one and it is my favorite of the entire series. I loved Katie and Damon's banter. Is that a word? Is that like a British term? Banter? Am I all hip now? I use banter. But in this book, their relationship is just starting to form and you don't really have the same kind of feeling in the next 4 books. They're more lovey-dovey, and I really, really, really enjoyed their connection in this book, so that's why this one wins. Next I have Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. Now, all of Stephanie Perkins' books are pretty good, I have to say, but this one takes the cake. There is nothing better than Anna and the French Kiss. It's like cake. There's nothing better than cake. It's the best thing in the world. You're on a high when you are reading these books, and then you get off and it's like withdrawal and it's horrible. I loved Anna and the French Kiss. It was so freaking cute and adorable, and if you're not a reader, this would be my recommendation to you. If you're a girl, I don't think guys would enjoy this very much, but if you're a girl, read Anna and the French Kiss if you have not read this yet, and it's just so beautiful. I want to be Anna. I think I say this every single time I talk about this book. I say I want to be Anna, because it's true. Next I have Eleanor in Park by Rainbow Rowell. This is the only book I have read of Rainbow Rowell so far. and it was so good. Obviously all the books I'm going to show you are so good, but this one was so good. It is the perfect mixture of cute, quirky, and sadness all mashed up into one, and it's perfect. Rainbow Rowell is like a goddess of contemporary books. Since reading this book, I think 2 months ago I read it. Yes, I'm late. I know I'm late. I'm always late on these things. Since reading this book, I have really wanted to read Fangirl and probably like Landline and Attachments. So I'm really looking forward to reading her other books because I'm sure they're just as amazing. Next I have Just One Day by Gail Forman. Now this was a very different book from everything that I've read this entire year. It's a contemporary, but it's not like a cutesy contemporary. There are some cutesy moments, but it's not the cutesy contemporary that you hear about all the time. It's a book about finding yourself and figuring out what you want in life and not being afraid to speak up when you don't like what's going on around yourself. This book is amazing, and I'm not entirely sure. Are they making this into a movie? Is it like auctioned for a movie or something? I'm not sure. But this definitely deserves a spot in my favorite books of 2014 because it was perfect. The way that everything was described and the way that everything evolved and the character development was really good for a short book. It was perfect. So read this one too, guys. Next I have the Angel Fall series by Susan E. Now in particular, Angel Fall actually is called Penguin and the End of Days, not the Angel Fall series. You can look inside, it says Penguin and the End of Days. So I really enjoyed Angel Fall, but not so much World After. It was a little bit slow for me, but you should definitely read it though because it's awesome. The third book is coming out next year and I think it's going to be awesome because there's like a war going down. The next to last books that I adored this year is the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. Yes, I loved every single one of these books. The last one did not ruin it for me. It didn't make it better, obviously, but it didn't ruin the series. A lot of people have been giving this series hate just because of the last book and how it ended. I mean, you can't always have happy endings. That's not how the world goes, obviously. Divergent is a masterpiece. It is so good. It is ridiculously good. I think I read this book 4 times this year alone, not including watching the movie so many times. This book is so good. I can't get enough of it. And the other week, a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, the Insurgent trailer came out. Like the full-on trailer came out. And it was epic, and I really need to reread Insurgent. And I don't remember a lot of it because I was really confused during it, but it was so good. And apparently, I don't remember a lot about this book, so I really need to reread it to refresh my little noggin about what's going on in the book. So, yeah, it was so good. Anywho, this series is so good, and I give it 5 out of 5 stars, no doubt. And the last book books, because there's more than one, that I adore this year is the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare. Now this was a work of genius. It was so good. In my opinion, this was so much better than the Mortal Instruments series. There's only 3 books, but I loved it way more. I don't know, the characters were so good, and I love Jem and Tessa and Will, and oh my god, it was so good. If you have not picked up this series yet, go, leave, and go buy these books. They are just so good, and you will not regret it. Okay, it's worth it. It was just so good, and oh my gosh. Like I said before with City of Heavenly Fire, her endings are brilliant. They leave you satisfied. I want to live in this world and be part of their trio, but then when we be a quartet, even better, because then I could have Jem. Tessa can have Will, I'll have Jem for my own. I really, really need to reread these books because they were just so good and I want more of it. I was really upset when they finished, and oh, they're just so beautiful. And the covers. Look at this cover. I'm going to show you my favorite cover because it's the best cover in my opinion. It's Clockwork Prince. Look at Jem. Look at Jem. Look at my beautiful boy. He's so beautiful on his book cover. Don't you think so? I love Jem. I love Jem so much. Okay, back to being normal. Seriously, read these books. Read them now. Those are my favorite books of 2014. I don't know how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books. So, pretty close. Close enough to 14, I guess. I thank you. And I will see you guys next time with a brand new video. I'm a little bit crazy. Yeah, noticed yet. So there are only a few days left before we can't even start right. So there are only a few days left before we maybe I should switch up. There are only a few days left before we ring. I can't say it.